I love
I love failure.
All right. Well, thank you very, very much for having me here, like all the way here from Canada. It's a pleasure to be here, and well, I guess bona and 𝐤𝐤𝐶𝐚𝐜𝐤. There we go. That's the only Romanian I know, so that's all I got. But no, this is a beautiful, beautiful opera house. It's a nice sunny day out. What a great day to talk about failure. And but joking aside, trying to condense my life story and all the times that I've failed into something less than 20, 25 minutes. It's gonna be difficult, but I'm gonna try my best. So, I guess the best place to start would be the very beginning. Um, Obviously, you can see that I'm missing arms and legs. I was born like this. No real known reason as to why. My mom never did anything during the pregnancy or took anything during the pregnancy. It's just one of those things that happened. And honestly, my day one could have been perceived, or some people might think is a failure. And I just don't get me wrong. I don't think it's a failure. I've had a lot of fun, a lot of laughs. But some people do see this as a failure. And why do I know this? Why do I think this? Well, I've seen the comments on social media on some of my posts, but it is what it is. But honestly, even though I was born missing arms and legs, my life growing up was very normal. Went to regular school, played all the same sports that my friends were playing, helped out on my grandpa's farm, and I actually go as far as to say that my life growing up without arms and legs was actually pretty easy, considering all the things that I had to overcome and the obstacles and the barriers. And there's several reasons why I can make that claim. Obviously, an amazing family, incredible friends, but one of the big reasons why I can say that my life growing up without arms and legs was pretty easy is a good sense of humor. If you can't laugh at life, what can you laugh at? We've all had bad days. We've all had challenging days, and I think when you could try and slow things down and try and find the funny in the situation, give yourself any reason to laugh, shrug it off. It helps you get over a little bit quicker, and it gives you some sense of having some control over what's going on in life. And that mindset, that approach started right from day one, the day I was born. Not a word of a lie. Uh, when my grandma heard that I was born missing arms and legs, her reaction was to say that my dad never finished anything he started. And that was perfect. My grandma's reaction wasn't, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? What a tragedy. Her reaction was, all right, it is what it is. Everything's going to be fine, and we're going to figure this out, and we're going to have some good laughs along the way. And we've done just that. All kinds of cheesy things, like my brother calls me his half brother. But, life's too short to take it too seriously, and we need to laugh more. And I think laughter is one of the greatest tools we have at our disposal, especially in the moments when we fail. Just slow things down, try and find the funny in the situation, laugh it off. So yeah, humor was a huge one, and I guess how my parents raised me is another huge one. My parents never held me back from anything. They stepped back and they let me figure things out. They let me learn by trial and error. They let me fail. They let me make mistakes. They weren't the type of parents that were, trying to do everything for me and made sure everything life was nice and easy. They stood back, let me figure it out. And the fact that they did that, I can't thank them enough for it. The fact that they did that, they stood back and let me figure things out, that helped me develop things like confidence, resilience, perseverance, clever outside of the box ways of doing things. And that's also, a very blue collar, agriculture, farming mindset. Like, you can, feel sorry for yourself and worry about all the things that are going wrong, but it's not going to change anything. So well, pardon my French, but you get off your ass, you get out there and you figure it out and you just get the job done. And, my parents, they never, like I said, they never held me back from anything. So if I wanted to learn how to, snowboard, or if I wanted to play baseball, or if I wanted to help out on the farm, it wasn't, I don't know if you can, or it could be dangerous. I was, all right, let's figure it out, and get in there. So yeah, part of my job, this is my main job, traveling around the world and sharing my story. But I also help out on the farm. We just finished harvest time here about 3 weeks ago, and I mean all that equipment that you can see up in those pictures, I can climb up the ladder and get in there and operate it just as is. I don't need to make any changes, any modifications. If there is anything I need to do special, it's usually something pretty simple and pretty easy to do. But yeah, and this is all possible because my parents, they stood back, let me figure it out, and gave me the confidence to know that not everything is going to go the way that you'd hope. Not everything is going to go the way that you planned. You are going to fail sometimes. But when you have that confidence, when you do fail, you're not just going to be floundering, upset and worried about what just happened. You're gonna fail, and you're gonna fall down, and you're gonna get up, and you're gonna say, okay, what am I gonna do to make this better? What am I gonna do to get myself out of this situation? So again, it goes back to failure and not being afraid to fail, and having that confidence to figure it out along the way. And we're all capable of doing things like that. And I guess when I do these presentations, I tell people, I guarantee you, I'm having more fun and more success without arms and legs than I would have had I been born with them. And if I can, and not being afraid to fail, it's all a mindset. It's this up here. It's at 6 inches or 30 centimeters of space between the ears. That up there, that's the strongest muscle you have in your body, and it's also the biggest obstacle you have in life. And I guess to go back to failure, and it was really interesting, and actually kind of therapeutic in a lot of ways, getting ready for this presentation, because I've acknowledged the times I've failed and the mistakes that I've made, but I never really did a deep dive into failing. And so when I had the opportunity to come and speak at this conference, I was actually quite excited. Who gets excited talking about failure? But we've all failed. We've all made mistakes. And I think when you do make those mistakes, those are some of the greatest moments in your life where you learn just how strong, resilient, and capable you are as an individual. You fall down, you figure out a way to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and get back into the game. Now, these presentations, speaking, what I'm doing right now actually was born out of a moment of failure. I want to say it was about 15 or 20 years ago. I was taking a flight dispatch course down in Florida. Quite a while ago, I was working for an airline in Canada called WestJet, and then when I wasn't working at the airline or at the airport, I was helping out on the farm, and I decided I wanted to become a flight dispatcher. So, a flight dispatcher is coming up with the flight plans for the planes, and I failed the course. So yeah, they didn't want to let me have anything to do with figuring out where the planes were going to go. But that's the long story short. Unfortunately, yes, I did fail this flight dispatch course, and that's actually something that I haven't admitted publicly. I have never been on a stage, and this is being recorded too, so this is permanent. That failure is permanent now for everybody to watch over and over and over again. But the good part of that story is while I was down in Florida taking that course, I thought it'd be kind of cool to have a longboard, very similar to this one. I'd passed by the Ron John Surf Shop in Fort Lauderdale, and I thought it'd be kind of cool to board up and down the boardwalk along the beach. And I bought a board, like I said, very similar to this one. And the very first day on the board, I was cruising along, and I don't want to go too far because I'll get out of the lights and out of the camera shot, but cruising along on the board. After about 15, 20 minutes, I'd stop to take a bit of a rest, and I looked back and I saw how far I'd just gone. I was able to get farther, faster, way easier on the longboard than I ever could on the artificial legs. I didn't have to take 5 minutes to put the legs on in the morning, and it's kind of a cool, badass way to get around. This board right here was an absolute game changer. And it, basically it became a quest, for lack of a better way to put it, to see how far I could go. And so this opened up the door for so many things. And like I said, what was a bad day or a bad trip down to Florida and failing this course turned into one of the most pivotal moments, if not the most pivotal moment in my life. Travel. I love traveling. And it was something that I always wanted to do. In the back of my mind, even when I was a little kid, I loved travel. I loved the idea of travel. I loved geography. I loved history. And something I always wanted to do was was go on a backpacking trip throughout Europe. I thought that would be so cool. And I always hesitated and talked myself out of it. Maybe I should have somebody to come with me. Maybe I'll need help. And the prosthetic legs or the artificial legs that I had they were pretty good. They got me from A to B, but they were somewhat limiting. This longboard absolutely changed that game. And so I that that trip that I'd always wanted to take, backpacking through Europe. I finally went and did that. I was backpacking through Europe for about 3 months, and that gave me the confidence to keep on traveling. And that also was a great jumping off point for me to start telling my story. A lot of people are fascinated by the fact that I can drive tractors and combines and all that kind of stuff. But I think, someone who has the courage to get out there and go see the world, travel. I could listen to travel stories till the cows come home. I absolutely love it, and I wanted to be that person to have as many travel stories as I possibly can. And yeah, I've been in Bucharest for a couple days, and I always tell people you have to be in a country outside of the airport for a minimum of 24 hours before you can say you've been to that country. So at about the 24-hour mark, I went to the old town and I went to souvenir shop and I got myself a Romania sticker. And each board that I have, I get a new board. There you go. I get a new longboard about every year. Arbor is a longboard company in California, and they give me a new board about every year so I could try out different styles and different kinds of boards. But yeah, this board I got at the very beginning, basically right on January 1st, and I get the stickers for all the countries that particular board has traveled. So this board, in less than a year, we're October 20th or 21st today, this board has been to 4 continents already this year. So yeah, I love traveling, and thank you. Yes, so kind. But another thing about traveling, and anybody here who's traveled, you will run into failure. You will, everything that you think you have planned will go completely sideways. And that is one great test. You go traveling, and I'm not talking like, going to Ibiza or, North America. A lot of people go down to places like Puerto Vallarta and Cancun and go party for a week, 10 days. I'm talking like backpacking through Europe or Southeast Asia or South America or whatever. A trip like that, you will learn more about yourself in that kind of, in that couple months than you will in any, not to take anything away from school, but you'll learn more on a trip like that than you will in any textbook or in any classroom. And like I said, the failures will happen. You'll get on the. I've never got on the wrong plane, but you get on the wrong plane, or maybe something like you're flying from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, on your way to Bucharest to speak at a conference, and you have a layover in Amsterdam, and for some reason you thought you had an 11-hour layover, so you decided to leave the airport and jump on the train, and you're on your way to Central Station in Amsterdam, and you think, well, maybe I better double check and see what time my flight leaves so I know what time I got to make sure I be back on the train to head back to the airport. And then you realize that you don't have an 11-hour layover, and you realize at about 10:20 a.m. that your flight leaves at 11:40, and you're on the train heading to Central Station, so you got to turn around and get on the train and get back and fly through security as quickly as you possibly can and thankfully catch your flight to Bucharest. Maybe something like that could possibly happen. But again, you have the confidence, you don't panic, you just figure it out, and you'll be able to bail yourself out of that situation. But also, like I said earlier, this board, it turned into a quest to see how far I go or how far I can go. And, with my legs, with my artificial legs, it took a lot of energy, and it would probably take me, I don't know, an hour to go a couple kilometers. I could do a couple kilometers in no time at all. I think it took me, I boarded here from my hotel, the Sheraton, and I made sure Sheraton's one of the sponsors. I didn't even mean to say the Sheraton, but you're welcome. I boarded from the Sheraton here. It was about a little over 5 kilometers to get here, and I think it took me maybe 30, 35 minutes to get here. Good little exercise, but it's turned into doing marathons. And I always tell people, have you ever heard the joke? What do you know? How can you tell somebody's done a marathon? Don't worry, they'll tell you. So I don't mean to brag, but I've done a few marathons. But yeah, I ended up doing, so far I've done 16 or 17 marathons. I'm getting ready to do a couple more next month. I have the New York City Marathon and Philadelphia Marathon. But marathons, the reason why I bring up marathons is not so I can brag, but it's another prime example of challenging yourself, pushing yourself, and not being afraid to fail. And it's also a great example of, yes, doing a marathon, 42.2 kilometers, 26.2 miles. Obviously, you know, it's a physical grind, but it's mostly mental. The body, the human being, is capable of doing some pretty awesome and amazing things. And it's this up here that gets in the way. Your brain tells you you're too tired, you're too sore, you don't have enough left in the tank. But if you can get over that hurdle, yeah, you can get across that finish line. And I tell people, every single person in this room, every single person, period, is capable of doing a marathon. You might not be doing a 2-hour and 50-second elite marathon. You might be doing it in 4 hours or 5 hours or 6 hours. You might not be running the marathon. It might be a run walk. You might be using a wheelchair or a hand cycle, or in my case, a longboard. But it's about getting across that finish line. And I'll tell you, the feeling you get when you cross that finish line and you accomplish that, there's not a better feeling in the world. So yeah, the last marathon I did was in Australia. That's the picture on your left. And then it's probably a little tough to tell. The Dublin Marathon is the picture on the right. It's probably tough to tell which one I am because I'm in a costume. So yeah, but yeah, and again, having fun, laughing at life. So I dressed up like a leprechaun when I did the Dublin Marathon, and actually went quite popular. But and again, the other thing that was born out of that failure in Florida. Oh, that's got a ring to it. The failure in Florida. These presentations. The travel took off, and then I had a jumping off point to tell my story. And it's funny, when you fail, sometimes those failures happen because they need to happen. Call it divine intervention, call it fate, call it whatever you want, but sometimes failures happen because you need to do a course correction to be doing what you're supposed to be doing. I'd been asked to speak at conferences and local schools when I was younger, before I pursued this as a full-time gig. But when I would have gone in, become a flight dispatcher. I would have gone back and probably retaken the course and eventually become a flight dispatcher. But all these things happen to steer me in this direction. So that's the other way to look at failure, is maybe it's opening your eyes to something that you're supposed to be doing, or other options. So again, don't be so hard on yourself when you fail. Take it all in stride and make the most of it. And again, failure is, if I can, is a mindset. And I do these presentations, I share my story because I want to encourage people to get out there and do more in their own lives. Constantly be raising the bar in your own life. But I don't want to just be talking a big talk. I want to be leading by example. So I'm always looking for the next challenge, the next adventure. I don't want to be talking about that one thing that I did 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago. I want to be doing, talking about current things that I'm doing, like the marathons that I'm about to do next month, because I want to be leading by example. I don't want to just be talking a big talk. And, all those things that you talk about doing, think about doing, dream about doing, I want people to stop talking, thinking, and dreaming, and do. Our ability, we set the bar at a very obtainable level, an easy level, so we can achieve our goals and not have to worry about failing. I think you need to raise that ceiling a lot higher. And again, don't be afraid to fail. I tell people, I'm way more afraid of regret than failure. Again, I can't say this enough, and there's going to be a bunch of speakers throughout today and tomorrow that are going to say the exact same thing. Failure is not a bad thing. Regret, that is something you do not get back. I don't want to be sitting back. I don't want to be sitting down, when I'm living out my last days thinking, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have tried that. I want to be, going through my whole life thinking and saying to myself, you know what? I went out there, did as many things as I possibly could. Maybe not everything went the way that I'd hoped, but at least to put myself out there, at least I tried. And in the moments when I failed, in the moments that it didn't go my way, I came back stronger, wiser, and better because of it. So fail as often as you possibly can, fail forward, but have that confidence in yourself to know that when you fail or if you fail, you're going to be able to figure it out. And, when whenever I'm getting ready for my presentation, I'll have my laptop open, I'll be going through my slides and going over my notes and the things that I want to say for each slide. And I have my headphones on, I'll be listening to my pump up tunes. And the very last song I listen to before I close up my laptop and head to wherever I'm doing my presentation. And today it was boarding to the old opera house here. The very last song that I listened to is by the Zac Brown Band. It's called "Tomorrow Never Comes." If you don't like country music or you don't like Zac Brown Band, the title of the song says it all. It's about living life like tomorrow never comes. We don't know how long we have on this earth. We don't know how long this journey lasts. So, don't put off till tomorrow something that you can start today. Like I said, I'm way more afraid of regret than failure. I just want to go out there and collect as many experiences, collect as many, adventures as I possibly can. Always be, if I'm adding to my bucket list item, I always also want to make sure that I'm ticking things off the bucket list item. And, it's just, again, getting out there and making the most of life. I think, if obviously, I hope today is going to be a great day. And I think it's all about making sure today is a little bit better than yesterday. And tomorrow is a little bit better than today. But sometimes you fall. Sometimes you falter. Sometimes you fail. When that happens, make sure that you still have the next day. Don't, see it as, one step forward and 10 steps back. It's one step forward, one step back, and then the next day it's another step forward. We have 1,440 minutes in a day. So if one little thing happens that's not according to plan, you have one little bit of failure, one person, cuts you off in traffic and gives you the middle finger. I've never given anybody the middle finger, but if somebody does, not me, but if somebody does, don't throw away, those 1,300 and math is not my strong suit, but 1,440 minutes. Don't let 1 minute screw it all up, is what I'm trying to say. I just didn't do it very eloquently, but life's too short. Make the most of it. Laugh as much as you can. Don't be afraid to fail. Get out there and just enjoy this ride, because life is as good or it's as miserable as you decide that it is. And for me, it's taking control of your circumstances instead of passively waiting for them to decide your fate. Being born like this is something that I had no control over. I didn't ask for this, but how I respond to it, that's the onus, the responsibility, the accountability, that falls on my shoulders. So if I was a miserable, horrible human being to be around, bitter at the world because I was born on missing arms and legs, that's my fault. So we all have that choice. And sometimes it isn't easy to see the forest through the trees. Sometimes it's, you have to dig a little deeper and find the positives. You have to dig a little deeper and not take that failure so hard. But, it is a choice that we have. And I just think, we have the ability to choose the positive. We have the ability to take the high road. And I hope me coming here and sharing my story has you thinking about your own lives. And the choices you make and what you're capable of doing, not just the future, but today. Don't come here today and listen to all these speakers and think, oh, okay, yeah, I'm feeling on top of the world, and then you make some changes, then in a couple of days you kind of start falling back into old habits. No, keep your foot on the gas and get out there. And like I said, I'm always looking for the next adventure, the next challenge, the next amazing thing. and I hope you guys do the very same. I want to thank you again so much for having me here today. I will be around all day long, so if you want to come up and chat about farming or travel or life or failure, whatever, I'm all too happy to visit and get to know as every single one of you as I possibly can. I do this because I love people. I genuinely love people. I love meeting people in my travels after doing these presentations, and I genuinely love and hope that my story makes a difference. So again, thank you so much. Have an amazing day, and yeah, enjoy the rest of your speakers. Thank you.
I love failure.
I love failure.